So we're going to show you a couple of simple examples. So this is not my computer. This is his computer.
Yeah.
And he's got his own login on that, which is not mine. He's doing a test account login. But what I'm going to do is I want to log in, and there's two different ways that I could log in. I'm going to do just the simple one, just show you.
Show the reflector first, just next to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think, there we go. I want to see both. Okay. So whatever I do on here, you'll see up there. It may be a slight lag as it shows it, but you'll see it up there. So I could either enter just the username, so without a password. I could, and I believe my own username here is armin@shocard.com. So I could enter that and press this button. And what I'll get is, once I do that without entering my password, is I get a notification on my app, and it'll say that the site's wanting to log me in.
Yeah.
And if I use Touch ID, that'll be enough for me to be able to log into the account. So when I log in, I actually share data that's uniquely on my own device. So not only my name and so on. One of the things that we do is we do take a selfie, and we take that for biometrics. But in this example, the bank knows nothing about the image. So it's not a shared image that they know about. But when I log in, all messages between my phone and the institution I work with is always encrypted. I know I said a lot. I should let you translate. Well, go ahead and translate those, and I'll come back to it.
刚才演示大家看到了，然后他只是强调说他这个中间这个所有的一些流转过程都是加密的。然后
Now, when I log in, the messages are always digitally signed and encrypted with the public key of the bank. So only the bank can actually open it. Whatever images or data that I pass, I can see those on the site. If this is a phishing site, they wouldn't be able to display my image.
就是如果这是个钓鱼网站的话，他这个就是别人用一个钓鱼网站在做登录他的账户，那他手机上就不会出现这些信息。就算他登录之后，他的照片也不会收出来。
就是因为他是用银行的公钥去签自己的这个加密信息的，因为只有正确的银行可以用自己的私钥解开。如果没有这个私钥的，其他的钓鱼的网站是解不开这个东西，也看不到他的这些信息。
And in this case, by the way, since the computer wasn't mine, I didn't want to enter a password, and I never entered the password because it's his, and I don't want the device to remember it. I didn't have to actually use that to log in. Now, what we have are a few test credit cards. We're going to go through a commerce site. I just want to show you these are credit cards associated with my account, and I'll show you how commerce works. So we're going to go to a regular.
Buy something.
Yeah.
We're going to buy something, but we're going to buy with a fake credit card because I don't want to actually pay for it.
他就演示一下去一个电商网站去买点东西，然后用这个，当然是假的了，因为他不想买，他用一个假的信用卡。
Real quick, the commerce site doesn't need to know anything about Shocard. So everything that you see here would be just any regular commerce site. So I can go in and grab a product, add that to my shopping cart, and I'm going to go through checkout. And I'll enter my information here. I'm going to hide this. This is our own plugin that we added in. I'm going to hide that because normally that wouldn't be on the site. I'll type these in real quick. And I'm going to say save and continue. And I'm good with the cart. So I'm going to make a payment. I'm going to enter the payment that I had before. And I'm going to show you a faster way I could do all of these in a moment. And what I'll do is I'll place an order. Now again, the merchant site doesn't know anything about the fact that I've got a Shocard. The bank does, right? Because I added my card to the bank. So I'm going to go ahead and place the order. And when, this is the part that we modified for the demo. So it just says on top that the order is being verified. I get a notification that comes over here on my phone. and it tells me that Bank of America wants to make a purchase. So if I use my Touch ID at this point, it will approve it, and you'll see on top, it'll actually go in and say order approved, and everything is fine. So now, if someone else grabbed my credit card information, because you could type all that in, there's no secrets in that. And if they type in my data, and they try to do a purchase on my behalf, I still get a notification. I could either ignore it or I cancel it. Transaction doesn't go through. So it's a means of being able to authorize transactions ahead of time.
But we can do the similar thing with just SMS.
Well, there's a big difference between SMS and what we do. So if you look at SMS text messages, for example, you get it, and this is where social engineering takes place. I'll give you two of the problems with SMS. One is with SMS text message that comes in, you normally don't know the number. So you look at some random number that actually shows up, and a text message comes in and says, this is Chase account, I want to authorize something. A big problem that's been happening with fraud is that now fraudsters go in and they send you text messages, and what they ask you are questions that you get at different points, right? And we actually done a lot of user studies to see where the users distinguish. And they say, this is your Chase account. We need to verify something about your account. Could you please provide the last 4 digits of your social security? A lot of people some people end up responding to that because there's no way of knowing who you get that from. Clear text, so one problem with clear text is social engineering. There's a secondary problem, and there will be more and more attacks on clear text SMS. Through the S7 protocol. Are you guys familiar with the S7 protocol?
S7 protocol.
So, all text messages, not text messages, cell phone data is ultimately exchanged over what's called the S7 protocol. And hackers who get access to that can actually view anything in clear text that's communicated between any two devices. So if you send a text message, an email, anything you send, they can actually intercept it, read it, before it comes to you. So if they go to your account, and one of the folks who used to work for me, I used to work at Yahoo, and I was head of platform engineering. One of my guys is actually at Google now, and they're working on two-factor authentication. And what they're describing in terms of some of the fraud that they see is that users go in and say, I forgot my password. Then what they do is they subscribe, and these are typically folks internationally who do this, where they subscribe to the S7 protocol. The hackers, they'll actually sell that data to get, they're simply providing a phone number, they can read the data. When they get the data, they actually got the second factor to log in because they get the code. They go in and they do whatever activity, mischief they have to. They do the activity in a matter of minutes and they get out before the user is able to actually respond to it. So two problems with clear text. One is you don't know who the sender is, and anyone can actually send you those messages, and it's hard to ever verify what that is. And social engineering can actually open up your identity to other folks. The second problem is being able to read clear text because it's not encrypted. Also, if you do it ever within a Wi-Fi,
What's the second?
being able to read clear text SMS.
S7.
And there's different ways. One is through the S7 protocol. The second way you could do it is if, for example,
Wi-Fi.
we have Wi-Fi, we have our name there, you could look up our password there. If you connect to our Wi-Fi, it's not a secure interface. Anything that you guys send, we don't do that, but if we were bad guys, like at a hotel, for example, you provide a free Wi-Fi, they could be reading the data. The hotel most likely won't do it, but someone else can connect to it and see all the traffic that actually goes on it. So there's a lot of exposure with clear text that when you use encrypted messaging, you don't have.
OK，你先翻，然后我再补充。
就是说，刚刚他演示了一下，你在一个网站上购物，把信用卡密码敲进去，然后呢，就会在手机上 app 上有个提示，你那个确认一下，就完成这个交易了。然后大家就问说，那你这跟那个发短信确认有什么不同呢？然后他就两个解释，第一个是说，短信你不知道谁发给你的，你可能是某个银行发给你，你不知道这个短信这个号码
是不是这个银行
发的人是谁？
对。
第二个问题是他提到一个 S7的一个协议， 这个协议呢很容易被黑客截获到，然后他就用你一种第二种 second factor， 就第二个就是发短信回一个数字，然后确认那个过程，然后来登录进去进行操作再退出去。然后很多数据已经被一些组织就是卖给别人，让他们去做这种事情。然后另外就是说这个 WiFi 我们登录进去之后呢，你发任何东西都会，如果背后有人做事情的话，都可以把你的信息给泄露出去。
对，他刚才说比如我们在宾馆用宾馆的免费 WiFi， 实际上宾馆如果愿意的话，它可以把我们每个人的这个数据都可以获得。
然后这个问题是这种明文信息的问题，就是只要截获就可以看到你明文信息，那完全就可以截获。但它是用加密信息的话，就算截取了你这个数据，也不知道你里面是怎么，里面内容是什么。
Okay, I'm going to show you one other example. There's different levels of security that you can impose. So one case is just the PIN code, what you remember. One case is Touch ID. But let's say we're going to do a transfer funds. So I'm going to click on this one at my bank. So let's say I'm going to wire a lot of money. I'm going to go from one account to another account that I set up. And what I will do is put in a larger amount, say $25,000. I will transfer this once, and this is a test of wire transfer. And when I initiate this, two things will happen. On the screen that I initiated, I actually get a request, and it tells me this is the activity I requested. The amount has, so we put a threshold, but any bank can put in their own threshold. We put a threshold of 5,000. And it tells you that what you're going to be requested is to actually take a facial image of yourself through your app to authorize this. What I can do is now I go to my app, I get a notification on my phone, and it's going to ask me to approve it, and I take another image of myself, and I approved sending that. I still got to use my Touch ID. So not only, so it's multiple factors that goes in now. I've got my private key, my blockchain entry, my facial image, and my Touch ID. I'm going to pass all four factors over to the bank, and the bank is right now receiving it and doing a facial recognition of my data, and we'll see that in just a moment that comes in. The data has been shared, it received that, and now it says it's verified. If someone somehow was able to replicate my Touch ID, or if I have a phone that doesn't have Touch ID and just use a PIN, and they were able to access my phone somehow, they would still fail on the facial recognition. And we actually use for motion to make sure you don't just hold the picture up. But if Ali was to do this thing, for example, this would fail. So you can impose different level of security depending on the importance or the, what do you call it, the exposure of the transaction.
他就说你的转账的过程嘛，随着金额的大小，你可以设定不同层次的安全程度。第一个就是你输入密码。第二个是你的 Touch ID， 就是指纹，然后比较高的这种，它转了25000比较大额的，然后它就可以说拍照片呢进行一个照片的比对，确认比对之后成功，这个transaction这个交易才能成功。
And what this replaces, at least here in the U.S., if I want to wire $25,000, I have to do one of two things. Actually with Bank of America today, what I have to do is drive my car to the branch. They give me a piece of paper. I sign the piece of paper. I work with an agent. The agent will then take that, go online, look at my physical signature I've given them, compare the two visually. So it's not always at 100%, but visually say, does it look similar? If it's approved, then I proceed. I may have to wait in line for my turn. So it takes a lot of my time, but it's also an agent who works with me. If I work with my mortgage broker, the process is a little bit different. When I want to do a wire, I make the request, then they call me back. But if they call me when they're available to do it. So if they call me right now, I'm in a meeting. If I had done a wire this morning, I couldn't take the call because I'm in a meeting, so I have to let it go to voicemail. They're going to try it again, or I have to call them again. So it could be multiple interchanges before we do that. This is the process, but they do that because liability is big.
I don't know what's the limit for if I try wire, how much money I need to go to the bank instead of doing
Today?
Online. Yeah, today.
It depends on the bank and it depends on your account. One of the customers that we're working with, they transferred large amounts of money. they basically have retirement accounts, a lot of retirement accounts, stock portfolios. For all of those, they require people to actually go to branches, which is very expensive for them. And they're trying to move everything into digital. Then there are other banks that they say, depending on the transfers that you do, if it's the transfer to the same bank you've done it before, the first time you got to go in, future times you don't. But short of it is, it depends on the bank and the policies of the bank that determines that.
他是说他这个 app 这个过程呢，就代替了现在在美国你要做一个转账，特别是大额转账的一个代替的过程。比如说你要通过 BOA 转到我要转到大地账户，那我可能要去 BOA 这个支行，去他的银行里边去排队，然后去把我这个签个申请，然后他柜台到后面去比对照片，人眼去比对一下照片，然后再去做这个事情。另外，如果对于一些贷款的一些机构，可能需要等到他们有空时间再打过来，再过去，反正这个过程非常复杂的。然后这个到底说什么样的一个流程呢？还是银行跟银行之间是不同的？就他们这个 app 就取代了整个这个复杂的过程。
And these aren't hard coded, so you could apply this to any case you want. One of the other examples, working with Visa, and what they said is sometimes when they detect even smaller transactions, like someone does 10 small transactions in a row, and the user normally doesn't do that. They could ask for Touch ID, but they want the right to say, I'm not quite sure about what you're doing, rather than Touch ID, even though it's a $50 transaction. I want to do facial recognition to make sure it's the person. And I'll go back to your earlier question that you had brought up with SMS text. With SMS text, if my phone is open and I go to the bathroom, I'm at some restaurant somewhere and I just leave my phone there, someone could actually grab that, do a transaction while I'm gone, and respond to all of those. But if there's any fraud detected in any way, be it online, be it physical, whichever format that it's in, the bank could say, one, I require Touch ID anyway, even though your phone is open. But they could also say, you know what, I'm seeing too many transactions, the behavior doesn't look right, I'm going to ask for biometrics. So the decision could be driven based on the type of transaction that actually takes place, but the bank can actually determine that.
So one thing I'm curious is how do you persuade the bank to adopt your technology? I think that's.
I'm going to show you one more use case, but I'll answer that question as well. I don't know where your other one was. It's just tap suspended. This is the Chase. I wanted to show that example. So we've done. So we've presented and worked with a number of banks, as well as networks. There's been a few different things that we've done. In some cases, they've come to us and they asked us about basically identity and the type of things that they want to do. A lot of the banks here in the US, part of what they're looking at is what's happening in with a lot of fintechs and the competition with fintechs and the new millennials who don't want to actually go to physical banks or do traditional banking. So what they're looking at is moving more and more things into the digital world and creating more, what they say, and we actually see this as well, is an ecosystem over time. And the ecosystem means you're not going to be in this individual silos. Even though you compete with each other, you won't be in individual silos because people expect to do things a lot faster. So a lot of the requests or interactions we've had with banks, as well as credit card networks like Visa and MasterCard, it's been driven by them where they reached out to us looking for digital IDs, financial IDs. And the process that they go through is, in most cases, we first do a POC, which is a proof of concept implementation. We follow that up with an integration testing where they actually integrate into their own systems. But in those cases, it's their engineers who typically do that. And then finally is after that where they do small pilots and roll things out. We're working.
Do you have
Okay.
do you have customers now?
We actually have clients right now, yes.
In
we ha-
Japan,
And
Canada?
so we have in Canada, in US, we are working with 2 government agencies. One is in US and the other one is international. we can't release the name yet because it's under NDA with them. The government agencies are doing driver's licenses. We're also, one that is public is that we're working with CETA, and CETA is the largest commercial technology provider to airlines. And you could look that up on Google, just search for CETA and us. And we're using that for air travel so that you could go through different airlines from country to country and just use your Shocard ID to pass on through. Those are the current clients that we have.
那刚才我问了3个问题，因为他们这个 app 还是或者技术，要说服银行来采用他们这个技术，就是因为银行都比较传统嘛，在我的印象里面，然后他的解释是说，现在银行的竞争越来越激烈，特别是跟这些分泰公司进行竞争，尤其是千禧一代这些年轻人都不喜欢去银行里，而是喜欢在网上做所有事情，所以说有一些银行，包括 Visa Master 都有找过他们关于这个数字 ID 的解决方案，然后他们也去做一些 POC， 就是概念验证的一些工作，然后我就再问他现在有哪些 customer， 哪些客户，他讲是在加拿大、在美国都有这样银行的客户，还有2家政府机构用来做那个驾照的，还有一个叫 CETA 是国际航空，对，就是给各个航空公司提供后台这些 IT 啊这些验证服务的公司。
对，你就可以拿着你的 Shocard 直接就入关，相当于就不用再用那个比如身份证啊什么的。
I'm going to show you one more example, and I'm going to show you the stack.
再演示一个例子。
So this is the example, and a lot of banks have had interest in this. Oh,
Yeah, it's not.
how did we go to that?
It's the restart icon.
Let me just do the calculator. US. Let's go back home again. 837984394. Let's see if this will connect. Okay, let me go back. How do I?
You can click on the screen and now go away.
I am
When you click on the screen.
on the screen.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Let me go back to the screen. So this is the case where the call center could be in a different country, different state, and I am the user, and I pick up the phone and I call. Today when I call, I'm asked a whole bunch of questions, and those are some of the things I talked about earlier. My name, mother's maiden name, where I was born, questions that anybody could answer.
Yeah.
And one of the